I mean, they have a patient who died with that drug. So I don't know, like, how do we get such a news?
Uh, I'm trying to look to see if there's anything. Uh, Gene therapy.
Yo, do your desktop does your desktop ever like disappear? Like, does your desktop ever disappear? Like the windows do they disappear at all? Like maybe twice. What? Maybe twice. Maybe twice. Like, how do you get them back?
Interesting. So looking at it real quick, I'll just say it does look. So the
What?
it said that it was from the drug. One of the
Yeah. Open it like this. Ah, so
it was from liver failure, which is one of the
if you touched it.
it's a known side effect
Oh
of
yeah.
it. So I don't know with it being obviously it's bad for that
Happens a lot.
to happen. Um, but in terms um
Hello?
of the actual catalyst itself per se, um,
Hello?
I think it's there could be other potential factors that come into it, whether it was if there's other patients that have had liver issues um,
Can you read it?
with being on that drug
Okay, yeah.
um,
This thing is like
compared to if
maybe
it's
like a
just like a
detox. So
one out of however many people. I wonder you'd have to go and look to see how many people or patients that they would have on the actual that have taken the drug and if there have been other noted reports about the about liver failure or anything like that. But I know it was the um, first one that I'm seeing here with it. But I know it would be if it's something where it's more commonly coming up and it's going to be a more pressing issue where they might have to actually um, potentially take that off the market and stop using that, or if they have to go in towards the development stages with that. I know that's one thing because of it being an already known side effect. If it has been something that has previously been um, an issue in the past, or if this is the first time that it's coming up.
Yeah, thanks, Caleb. Yeah, uh, thank you for that.
Of course, and I know, yeah, sorry, I would have to be looking more into the overall more in-depth search for that, but I know that's the one thing is looking at that is if that's a um known hi historical issue or if it's the first time that it's happened.
Yeah.
Um, okay. I was sorry, I know it's kind of gonna wrap up here. I know we got about 2 minutes left, so I'm gonna wrap everything up. I'm actually gonna go and look more into that for you, Sarab, and then I can talk about that on the call. But I will wrap everything up and then I will see you guys in
Too big volume. Oh, it's right next to that regular one. Get some
Body's looking like it's just gonna be an opening range break somewhere, whether it's to the top side or the long side, but no down through open or anything.
just spicy open. Sure. So nice. Should have shorted more.
There it is, opening range break to the top side.
Get some sideways on this key
Dude.
detail.
Caleb, can you hear me?
Hey Randy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Holy shit. Short Nvidia and Tesla on like the down
So,
up through open. You did 200? Nice.
yeah, and Tesla.
Dude, I didn't know how much shares I had on both of them, and I was like, holy fuck. I looked at my P&L. I had to take size off right away. I was like, holy fuck, this is insane.
I was thinking shorted Tesla as a pick and roll, but I did it as a up through open.
Nice.
Still holding.
Wow, that's weak. Yeah, just gonna hold these now. I'm pretty good P&L cushion now. I think I'm just
Randy, I
pick.
feel like no one should know what their size is.
What do you mean?
Just trade, and we'll tell you how you did later.
Be honest with you. So I shorted Nvidia as an idea trade, right? And then like within 2 seconds, I got hit with my Tesla chart. I was like, oh shit. Because I was like, let me hit 300 shares of Nvidia really fast. And it went really fast in my favor. And I saw the Qs break down. I was like, oh fuck. That means I got hit with Tesla. And combined, I was at like 700 shares. I was like, oh shoot. Got scared. And now I feel like I underperformed, but did really well. So I don't know what to do. It's a hodl now. All right, let me slow it down, take some size off now. Don't be dumb. 224.
Yeah. So what, Cameron? You sent out that thing. I like that document you sent, but it's saying rubber bands and backsides are working really well right now. So just be watching out for that rubber band.
Yeah, I'm trying to be a bit more patient because, like, naturally I want to hit momentum, but I feel like you can get away with it, but I just don't think it's the ideal market for it versus, like you're saying, like rubber bands are working really well.
Momentum's not really, it's not really paying.
Yeah.
The only way that it would be that you could technically say that it would be paying is like if you're like getting in and out within like that minute candle type of thing. But like if you're looking for like a normal pre-market high break or down through open, you're doing a 2-minute bar trail or something, like it's a lot of the times it's just been more of like a slight win or break even. So it's like unless you just really take it for like that quick minute candle and you're out of it, which is that's more risky and a lot harder to try to even control and manage.
Yeah, it's almost like tape scalping.
Exactly, yeah. Like as soon as you see that instant stall or a quick like rejection, like you're instantly out of it, of everything.
Looking to add my short Tesla.
Interesting.
Added.
Getting long Baidu for the opening range break here.
Is it upside? Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
that's
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you
a little
risking some low
choppy.
days?
I'm gonna risk 103.50. I feel like that's where I'm seeing buyers step up on this, and if it just fails right away, I want to get out of
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, I thought that was solid. I mean, I think that was really solid. Nice.
Oh,
Did you get in already?
Yeah, I'm already in.
Uh, the first minute has more volume today than yesterday.
still short Tesla.
Yeah. I have a full stop at 225s. I
Me too.
covered video. All that video now. Not where are you at?
I'm flat Tesla.
What? Video, low days.
Looking for VWAP continuation for Tesla.
shares that 200. 2 to 1.
Showed us some Nvidia 116 break.
Yeah, I like that.
Right.
TS grinding. ADTX going nuts. ADTX now.
Alright. I think if Tesla can break 223s, rebids, I'll probably go long. Try to catch a point, 1.5. Maybe.
You need backwards, or you want backwards? I think I'm gonna short pop though. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Cam, are you reading this Baidu too? What are you seeing in it?
Yeah, being patient on it. It's pulling in low volume, doesn't seem too aggressive. I'm thinking about 104 a lot to see if it holds here. Rebid.
I think I'll blind you just start get on the offer here. I put a third.
Wait, holy shit. Bob is just 144. Wow.
Just off above below 225.50.
Intel's pretty strong, holding by yesterday's highs. Arval's kind of low though.
Thank you. Yeah, Tesla's. I think Tesla might just chop around the whole day coming into tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. All right. USL.
We'll be looking at Google for possible backside or reversal. I'm still holding Nvidia short.
Oh, Tesla.
Yeah, for this Baba backside, how would you answer this? $144s. Video loose.
Q's coming into lows again.
Randy, you would look for that 144.50 to be broken.
Like the second higher low?
Yes.
What are you stopping to low day? Or like swing lows?
You
130,
just do
143?
nah, just do low of day there. I mean, it's not too much. It's 140. You're playing pennies at that point. You would do 143.72 is the low there, and the other one's 143.50. So it's only 20 cents, but
That makes sense.
But you need to wait. You have the higher low that's put in already. That was there at 945, but 144.50 would be the break there, but it's also a little bit more 50-50 because it's also you're way early in terms of the time. Usually it's like 10:15,
10,
10:30,
yeah.
not
Mm,
9:45.
okay. Yeah. I'll probably play that if
Look at
Caleb
Google.
can catch a bid.
Google is better. Google is better for a backside. Just let it extend.
Stomach is hurting. Fuck.
Is it that birria?
Bro,
Birria tacos, bro.
I went to deli this morning because I was like, fuck, I'm hungry. I bought like fruits. Dude, that shit was old fruits, bro. I'm pissed. Threw it away. Now my stomach hurts because of it.
Such a quag. I mean, like, look at the other Tesla and Nvidia. We don't even need Tesla level vehicles. They can still work 100% done. Yeah, I know, right? The race trade is the Black Bob and just shorted the lows. Get my revenge. You feel? Hold on. We can get our revenge before the short dog. Alright. Low day. No, no. Yeah, I said she gets some what's up.
Nvidia breaking low day.
How about new laws?
It's mental.
Baba broke down too.
Covering some Nvidia here. 115 break.
Think of hygiene. Now we've made it.
Oh shit. Tesla rebid that fast? Wow. Oh well.
Is MCI making new laws?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm fine to do it. I think it matters much. Bold. Oh, whatever. All those great grass, yes.
Usually is turning into. Alright, this is VLOG too. Fix. I like it.
I'm also liking PLTR. Hey, check your short here. Stop above 83.
I do.
Tesla going for that little day break again.
He's a consolidated wavelength down if needed. Size. Might just short small. Just to be in it. Holy shit. Where's Birdie? Not trying today? Oh, he did. His Google kind of slowed down. QBTS is just trying hard. Oh shit. Nah, bro, I had to find $10 in the end. Or $5, yeah. Whatever, dude. I'm gonna hit. I'm bound to hit. I'm bound to hit. It's so funny, the one time I actually didn't trust him, I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. It's good though. Can I catch one? Oh yeah, there you go. I think Ben's been short since VWAP. Nice. It's like $10.
Covering some Tesla here.
Might be just like you said, grind lower. That's good discipline.
Google is down 1 ATR on the day, so Might look for that reversal now.
This is where you can start looking potentially for Baba for a for the backside here above 143.50. But again, it's only going to be like a 1-to-1
Which one?
on Baba.
Oh, yeah, I took that one just off my screen just now. I think if Q's were to make another higher low here, I'll probably take Tesla, maybe. Never mind. Have a buy higher on RIP. That's crazy. Okay. Huh?
Yeah, here's the Baba break 143.50.
had Tesla too. Are you fucking shitting me? Oh my god, this would have been a huge trade. It's fucking brutal. Skilled everything out at 10 cents. Wow.
That frame was so good.
I can't believe I fucked that trade up. Oh my god. That's sick.
They're acquiring companies, like kind of like the M&A type of stuff. People like the acquirer is gonna go down, acquired, go up. That kind of makes sense. Wow, ATX just swept the high. It's crazy how it doesn't want to trade anymore. What the fuck? I feel like he was just starting. It's true, but like he's about to go parabolic. Dude, I was thinking about that too. Like, put up a phone that came up like 2 months ago. 3 months ago. It was like 370K. Yeah,
Short some Tesla into VWAP. 226 stop.
Bro, it was 373,000. Then I'm like, oh my god, this dude is about to go nuts. It's that like, I don't want to trade anymore. It sucks. There's so much potential in him. It's his life though. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I keep saying that. It's just like for YouTube. Live. Oh yeah, yo. I mean, it still didn't break the low day, so yeah, I agree. But dude, like the other ones, like the best ones, like Nvidia, SMCI, and all the other good like breakout swings, they never do. Yeah, this is absolutely horrid. It sucks, yeah, but you know, no, it's not. It's totally. What stock is Shark talking about? You know?
Here's Baba Baba into VWAP here. Seems like backside did work there. Alrighty, guys. I was gonna say I'm gonna hop off and I'm gonna get the 11 a.m. started here.
See you.
See you, Caleb.
I will see you guys in there.
Recording in progress.
Hey everyone, I was gonna say we're just gonna give it a few minutes, wait for Jeff to get on in, and then we will get started here shortly.
Apologies for the delay, everybody. So just a very, very, very busy morning. I try to not be late for meetings, but once in a while things just get lots of things going on. So anyway, let's get into it. So yesterday was market context day one. We talked a lot about kind of the dynamics that we outline in different environments. We talked about the trending markets, the range-bound markets or consolidating markets, and then the mean reversion markets, which typically are a little higher volatility. Today, to kind of pull this through, we're going to use a lot more examples. So we're going to get back to more of the traditional meetings where we're talking through what's happening on an intraday basis, but we're going to talk about kind of identifying some of these and where we look to identify these. And then we're also going to get into a little bit of the time frames that you use to identify these. So, we're as well going to be talking about these from the combination of factors, which are, is something trending? If it's trending, it's high strength, high weakness. It's high strength, low weakness, or low strength, high weakness. That tends to be the trending component, right? So the left side of that grid. If it's consolidating or ranging, it tends to be potentially low strength, low weakness. That tends to be about the most common thing. You can also have pockets of high strength, high weakness, and you can have pockets of trending, even if it's ranging, right? It depends on your time frame. And the time frame is something with regard to market context that so many people struggle with, because you'll try and make a trade off of a specific time frame, but that trade has no business being made off of that time frame, because if you look at a different time frame, it's counteracting each other. If you look at SPY today, what setup do we have right now? What setup do we have right now? Not what market context are we trading in. What setup do we have right now? Not what trade. Remember, setup. There's catalyst, setup, and trade. What setup?
Potentially failed breakout.
Thank you. Yes. On what time frame?
The daily.
Why the daily?
Or I guess multiple, daily and hourly.
Daily and hourly. That's correct. Yes, we have a failed breakout, and it's a confirmed failed breakout as soon as it breaks back down below the high of that consolidation, right? So let's go into the price action from yesterday, because this is where we're going to weave together all of these things very, very quickly. And today is going to be a lot about bringing things together. Yesterday, we kind of pulled things apart. Today, it's going to be putting back together. Over the course of this 8 days, it's going to be pulling things apart, putting them together, pulling things apart. So think about it as 2 steps forward, 1 step back, occurring over and over and over again over the next 8 days. And as a result of that, we're gonna go through it. Now, expect to be frustrated and confused at times. Expect that this will be a lot of learning, but this is for anybody that's been working with other people or been posting in Discord or asking questions. This is where you should have an edge on everybody else. And if you haven't been, this is where you should be in Discord. You should be asking these questions, right? You should be learning from each other. You should be studying these reviews if you want to together. You should be challenging me with questions during the meeting. You should be saying, hey, Jeff, you said this the other day, but I think you're full of SH blah, blah. I think that this is really the case. And I'll tell you that you might be right and I might be wrong, and I'm probably not wrong. But this is all subjective context, right? That's what we're really getting into. Is that this is all subjective context, but this is not something that is expected to be learned immediately. This is something that gets developed over time, and we're just throwing it into an 8-week, basically mini course. This is something that you will learn and be able to grow from so much. And you will slowly start to see your trading improve drastically because of it. Now, we had this time yesterday where SPY was relatively strong to Qs, and then we had that afternoon breakout as Qs made that reversal, right? Everybody can see on a daily chart, you can see that price level at 563.11 and a price level at 552.02. That is a range that is being developed on a daily chart, an hourly chart, and a 15-minute chart. Is that correct? Anybody want to believe differently? That is a daily, hourly, and 15-minute chart range that is being developed. We gapped up above, or we drove up above there, held it the entire morning, and then continued higher to almost 570. How wide is the range that we were in prior to the breakout? How many points is that range prior to the breakout? 14 points. How far did we go above the breakout? How many points?
About 7.
About 7, right? So we did break out. We got 7, 6.5, 7, right? We got about half of the range up. Now let's go to the price action from today. We then traded immediately back below that, right? Immediately back below that. So it is a failed break of range. What typically happens when you have a failed range break to the upside? Where do you go?
Bottom of the other end.
The other end of the range. Yes. So if this is truly a failed range break, we'll go all the way to the other end of the range. Now we have a lot of variables that could prevent us from doing that, some being commentary, another most important one being FOMC tomorrow. But in the back of your mind, you want to be thinking, is this trending? Do we think it's trending right now? Is the market trending up or down right now? No. Is it ranging?
No, not completely.
Why is it not ranging?
I mean, we just had a failed breakout. So
Correct, because it just broke the range, right?
yeah.
So is it mean reverting then? Well, if something breaks out and then fails, that's mean reversion, right? As long as that failure has follow through, which I would argue in this case it did, right? But we went from trending previously on the daily chart to ranging until yesterday to mean reverting until today, right? So we've got these dynamics that shift. And let's get into the time frames really quickly. Which time frame should you put the most amount of weight on when you're making your decisions? When you're coming in to think about what sort of market are we in? Where should you start?
Daily.
So the time frames we have are daily, hourly, 15-minute, and intraday 1 minute. Which one do you think is most important?
I thought the idea generation is definitely daily or the hourly.
So it depends. Everybody's saying daily, but it depends entirely on the opportunity that's being presented. And so you're going to have different combinations. Broadly speaking, dailies tend to be the most appropriate. Weeklies would be even more appropriate than that. But there are a lot of times that the daily doesn't matter as much as the hourly or the 15-minute. So what you're going to want to do is detach yourself from the idea that the daily chart is what matters the most. And you're going to want to attach yourself to the idea of what's being told in this moment is going to be on one of these charts. But it might be different at different times. If I tell you there's a basketball game going on, or let's do bowling. I don't know why I'm thinking bowling, but let's do bowling one time, right? Has anybody gone bowling with like one other person before? Yeah, just two of you bowling, right? I'm not a good bowler at all. My wife smokes me when I beat her one time ever, and we've been bowling a bunch. Like bowling was a fun date for us, but I've beaten her one time, and most of the time she just smokes me. And it was like the greatest one time that I beat her by like one pin ever. But anyway, when you're bowling with two people, there's a pretty fast rhythm to the game, right? Like you go, they go, all that stuff. I've never been on a team of bowlers, but I would expect there to be a very different rhythm. But would I expect the energy level to be way higher on that team of bowling versus two people? You know, people with the bowling shirts and it's 4 people on a team and all that stuff. Like I would expect, having never done it, I would expect the energy is so different in that environment. You want to be thinking about trading in a general sense like this, right? There are going to be times that the 15-minute is all over the place, right? Traders are pushing things around in both directions and it's telling this great story. Or in super high volatility, the 1 minute or the 2-minute is 5-minute is like telling so much of who's in control right now. In other times, you're going to have the hourly really telling us kind of who's in control, because the energy is going to be a little bit slower, a little bit more methodical, right? And then there are going to be times that the daily chart matters even more, right? Because things are a little more stable, right? Those are all going to be combinations of factors that are going to depend a little bit on the setup. And even more importantly, they're going to depend on your expectations for what should be happening. 5 expectations that we're going to bounce because we're oversold on a daily, and we don't bounce, even though we're oversold on a daily. That's pretty significant, isn't it? So you're going to want to tie what you're looking for to your expectations. That's where I think a lot of people get the time frames wrong. They attach themselves to look at what's happening on the daily chart, and it's like, yeah, but look at what's happening on the hourly chart, or look at what's happening on the 15-minute chart. So I don't think that you want to overweight one. I think you want to take each one and think, is this happening in the way it should be happening right now? I wanted to spend time clarifying that because there are different types of trades that we're going to take in each of these environments with each of these market regimes, market context. And so we want to separate ourselves from getting too attached to thinking that there is a golden bullet type solution for identifying all these. Oh, if I look at the daily, it's you know, whatever. Like, don't just get attached to something. Think, does this make sense? We teach our traders to scalp first because you can get away from a lot of the higher time frame stuff and that attachment that so many traders wind up having to the dailies telling the story. Look at the daily, look at the daily. And I'm saying, yes, look at the daily, but still look at the price action on an intraday basis. because there's a lot of importance there, or on the 15-minute, or on the hourly. So be open to all of them. Think of it as every time you pull up a chart, there's a little story that's being told. There's a little story that's being told, right? If we look at just SPY on the daily, let's start with the story that's being told on the daily. We're in a downtrend. We really got sold very, very quickly. And did we bounce at all? How much of that move from the highs to lows did we reclaim?
25%.
25%. Is that like good? Is that a good bounce? No, not at all. It's a very weak bounce, right? If I take the hourly, we had a really good range that developed with a breakout of that range yesterday. And then we gapped down and sold off. I'm looking at a nasty range that failed to the downside after only bouncing 25%. So now I've combined the two of those, right? Let's take on the 15-minute chart. We went from the low of the range to the high of the range very, very quickly, right? On the 15-minute chart. And now we're smack dab in the middle of it. It's tough to really know what's going to happen from here, but I would think that eventually we'll make our way back to the downside, just given the context of the failed breakout. But there are too many variables coming up for me to be able to sit there and go, I want to be short. Because what if we go back to the top? Like, there are just too many variables right now. So I want to be very, very aware of those factors. Okay, so, and then I look at the intraday and I'm like, they just sold it today. They just straight sold it today. So thinking about it from a bigger picture perspective, are we weak on the daily? A little bit, right? Are we weak on the hourly? A little bit. Are we weak on the 15-minute? I'd say the 15 minutes a little more neutral because we're just kind of back to the middle of the range after that failed breakout, right? We're not weak on it, but you know, it's a little more neutral. Are we weak on the intraday? Yeah, for sure, right? So when you can, what you can do is line up these time frames based on, is it strong or weak? And if you have weak, then you know that you probably want to look for downside trades. If you have strong, you probably want to look for long only trades. If you have strong, weak, there's probably some trades that you can take in both directions depending. Or if you have strong, weak, strong, right? For example, if you're moving left to right on the bottom and then using the top as your fourth metric, you know, there are going to be different narratives that are occurring. Where do you think that we as intraday traders have the most edge? When do we have the most edge? Shortest time frame. Yep, that's true. But when do we have the most edge? Thinking about it from a market context perspective.
Whenever there's a change in context or in price action.
When it changes, that's a huge element. Yep. What else? There are two times. What's the first one? I think John mentioned it, when we change.
When we align just different time frames.
When everything lines up, that is a huge source of edge for us as well. That's exactly right. When everything lines up or when things are shifting, those are the two times that are best for us as intraday traders. You're going to be able to do a lot just by looking for times when things change quickly or when everything aligns. And I know we're talking about the market with SPY here, but it's really going to line up with everything when everything lines up, right? That's when we're going to have the most edge. or when things change quickly. That's when we're going to have the most edge. Because either participants will be involved or and all participating in a normalized fashion. And you can go to the trades that we talked about yesterday, or you'll have quick changes so people will get caught off guard. Those two are the greatest sources of edges for intraday traders. All right, let's get into tomorrow. We're going to talk about liquidity, and tomorrow we're going to talk about liquidity and order flow. Could you tell, there's a good question. Could you tell us sorry, let me open the chat a little bit more. How did you place your PLTR trade into that market context? The bounce trade that I had this morning? Was that the question? Why did I take a bounce trade this morning? Anatoly? I was not hedging options. I was trading it because it very quickly, it had the failed breakout and just the severity of the move. I have, and we'll get into it tomorrow, but I have like ATR alerts and filters and price alerts and all that stuff. And just the severity of the move, I actually thought it was going to be a quicker bounce. And so when it wasn't really a bounce, it was like, well, I don't really have a whole lot to do here. So it really wasn't an important trade. It was more just like trying to see what was going to happen there, right? So what tool do you use for alerts? I just put price alerts in. I don't know. I think any platform has price alerts. Yeah, you can just add an alert. Yeah, create alert at any price. Yep. So there you go. All right. Yeah, liquidity and order flow is what we're going to talk about tomorrow because those are giant factors in thinking about kind of the context of things. Okay. I wonder why you were looking long PLTR on such a weak market. That's a good question. Has PLTR been relatively strong or relatively weak to some of the other major names? Very much relatively strong. Yep. When I was making that trade, I was not paying attention to how much Google and Meta were being sold. I really was not. So I was thinking that this was a quick pull into about the middle of the range, maybe a little bit higher in the middle of the range, and was thinking at least we would get a like kind of a grindy bounce back up to the top of the range, and we didn't. And from a risk perspective, I was probably 0.5 to maybe 1% of my daily stop being risk. So it was not a significant amount of risk. It was more just a trade to feel out. If we're going to be strong, this has been one of the relatively strongest names. I mean, it wasn't even a B minus. I would think it was a C. But I was taking that trade honestly. So let me tell you exactly what I was thinking. All right. And this is where the market context gets in. I traded PLTR to the long side initially after that flush, probably close to 940 or 945. I was really, really very, very tiny in it, like very tiny. Just trying to see, would it extend a little more or what was going to happen? I noticed the one green candle into the aggressive volume selling, but I was kind of thinking, okay, if I'm long this and I can feel that it's really weak, I can go to Tesla because Tesla actually should be weaker. And I was thinking Tesla might break 220. I know Steve would hate me for saying this, but I was like, given the context of everything, it could maybe break 220. But if Tesla, the only way Tesla's going to break 220 is if everything's really weak. And so I took PLTR because it's been the strongest. And I was like, if it bounces, then I kind of know to back off of the shorts. And if it doesn't bounce, then I kind of can feel out how well how aggressive the selling's going to be. Does that make sense to everybody? So I'm basically viewing it as I'm so small in this trade, I don't really know which direction it's going to go. But I know if I have a little teeny tiny amount of risk on, I can figure that out. I was busy with calls right before the open, so I didn't do I did my pre-market prep. But from about 9 till 9:25, I was busy with other things on calls, trying to get some stuff going for the firm and everything like that. But then I just I didn't have a good feel for it. So I just put something on really, really small to kind of get a sense for what that feel would be. Was all 10, great trade. I did not make that trade, but great trade. I could have easily done anything else, but PLTR has been a relatively strong name. So, okay. When you see that Tesla, for example, is weak, or you have the idea that it has weakness, and in fact it does, but it makes it such a quick pivot to having relative strength. How do you pivot from one to the other so quickly? I've been trading for a little while. I mean, I've definitely been trading for a little while, so I think I've developed some context and stuff like that. I would not expect anybody to be able to do that in your first 3 years, but it's something that you can pick up on over time. If this was going to be a nasty day in the market, like really nasty day in the market, and it still could be. I mean, we're down off of failed break, all that stuff, but like if it is a nasty day in the market, it probably would have started a little bit earlier and it would have been more aggressive early. And I'm talking like really nasty day. And you would have felt it in PLTR really quickly. And I just kind of didn't feel it. It went down and then it was kind of bought. And then that's where it's like, okay, maybe they're buying these momentum names. So sometimes you'll see me put on a trade in like something that it's trading very little RVOL. And it's just like, it's more of a feel out. How are bigger participants acting across bigger names? Are they selling strong ones too, or are they just kind of selling the weak ones? All right, here we go. I don't want to lose sight of what we're here to do. So identifying the big picture through kind of the higher time frame charts was the goal for today. It sounds like we've done a good job of that. Let's go into a couple of the examples, the trade examples, so we can provide some specificity, and then we'll wrap in about 2 or 3 minutes. What are some of the trades that we could have taken today? And PLTR, I was thinking maybe it was a Bella fade, and it just kind of never turned into a Bella fade. So it kind of had a rubber band style entry, and I just took that. Let's go to Google. I want to do RGTI, QBTS, Google. NVIDIA has an event at 1, so I have no opinion on that. I have no opinion on that whatsoever. MSTR, very, very strong relative. I'm surprised by that. Bitcoin could be maybe bouncing if MSTR is really strong like this. I feel like there's been some stuff that's been telegraphed at times when like MSTR puts in a low and then it's really strong, and then you look back and Bitcoin catches up. Tesla had a good fashionably late, but it took a little bit of time. Yep. Google. So what's the story with Google? Yeah, ADTX is good too. What's the story with Google?
They announced they will be buying a startup cybersecurity company for $32 billion.
$32 billion. Is that an insignificant amount of money?
It is not insignificant.
Yeah. It's not for Google, but it's not insignificant in the fact that it's $32 billion.
It's about 10% of the annual revenues of Google.
Yep. So this is one that, based on that, does the street like or not like this acquisition? Does not like this acquisition. A lot of times what you will see is this is a vote for what? Or a vote against what? A vote against whom, I guess. It is getting bid right now, but instinctually it's a vote against who? Whoever approved the deal.
Against the management.
The management. Yep. Yep. Okay. Let's take a look at a company near and dear to my heart. Pepsi, PEP. Who did Pepsi buy yesterday? Coffee. If you haven't had it, it's really good, but wait till Pepsi owns it and then buy it. My wife worked at Pepsi, that's fine. So anyway, this is a different experience, right? So instinctually, you had an up move off of the Poppy acquisition from yesterday, right? Now it's coming back, but we're intraday traders, so it doesn't really matter. But when Google has that first hour of selling, you can go, wow, somebody really doesn't like this deal, right? Yesterday, when Pepsi was relatively strong, you could say, wow, people really like this deal, right? And then you build that narrative out over time, but Google's actually now, let's go to Google, please. But this is a pattern that you can see in stocks making acquisitions. You can see either extreme weakness or extreme strength. And what that really is a vote of confidence for or against the management team. If you are a holder of Google prior to this, do you have a strong vote of confidence for the management team? I mean, Google's been one of the weakest of any of the mega caps for a while now. So it's a little tough, right? A little tough. Okay. It is bouncing really well, but you give it like an hour and a half to play out and then you see. Okay. All right. What's another trade from today? We have RGTI. Let's go to the quantum names. Why would the quantum names be running or trying to run? RGTI, QUBT. What news? QBTS breakthrough. What event? Thank you. The NVIDIA conference today at 1 p.m. will likely be one of the most interesting catalysts for these stocks of the week. So I'm very fascinated to see what's occurring at 1 p.m. today. We will have reading the tape at 1 p.m. by the way. So just so you know, we'll be in reading the tape during it, but I would expect him to be pressured on this or have to address it at some point. So we'll see. Okay. Anyway. Thank you for sharing that article. Okay. 1240, great. All right. What other stocks? What other opportunities? ADTX. Is that right? Yeah, let's zoom into the price action, please. ADTX. This is a pattern that you will really want to pay attention to because it's a great pattern, especially in stocks like this, but more importantly in like any low float type stock, lower price stock. When you have a stock put an LRP up, below VWAP, LRP up, gap up and holds it, gap give and go right here into a big dog consolidation is probably the greatest combination of factors that you can have for a lower float, lower price stock. What's the downside of that though? What did not occur on that big dog consolidation that should have? Could have really got this going. Why did it not occur? Yeah, the volume wasn't good enough. If the volume was good, this thing probably could have gone truly parabolic, but it wasn't great volume. So then you have kind of that backside, that top get to put in, and then you have the backside developing, and now you'll probably get back to VWAP, and then we'll wait and see. All right, we'll wrap there. Hope that was helpful for everybody. Tomorrow we will talk about liquidity and order flow as we're, essentially what sets the playing field for these different types of conditions. and we'll go from there. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, everyone. Hope everyone has a good rest of the day, and then we will see you guys for reading the tape today.
Thanks, Caleb.
Take care, you guys.
do add to. Okay. So why is it doing the wrong thing? Hang on a second. Bloomberg's not cooperating here. 2004. Okay. Seems to see McDonald's kept coming down here all the way down to here. And what happened is that the street wanted them to do three things. They wanted them to stop having price wars, dollar menus, all that with Burger King, Wendy's. They wanted them to stop expanding in the U.S. and they wanted them to get a new CEO outside of McDonald's. So they did all that right in about here. So I bought the stock thinking, you know, they did what they wanted. They missed the next quarter. They do monthly sales. They missed the next monthly sales. And they didn't miss again. Okay, so this here is 2003. So let me just change this here. 1 second, 2003. They didn't miss them for about 10 years. They didn't miss a month. So a lot of times it's really that simple. Look at that. All you got to do is know they did what they asked. They haven't missed since. So you get a few other situations like that. Starbucks, for example, they just took the CMG CEO. Look at the move that the stock had. That was the new CEO. You know, that's a pretty good move to keep going. People liked it. They like the news. These are type of things that anybody can trade. Just being very logical. You know, this thing probably keeps going. Southwest Air, forever and ever and ever, people have wanted them to start charging for baggage to stop how they, you know, get on the plane with no assigned seating. Well, they finally did. So if you look at this just the last couple of weeks, so it's made the change. You can put this up versus, let's say, United Airlines. And you can see here how important the news is. So United is getting killed. Southwest is going the other way. So a lot of times it's just being aware, you know, something's not doing well. What is it that needs to change? Well, there's your answer right there. Okay. What I'd like to do is take a couple of trades that you guys have done and want to talk about, go through, and let's just see your thought process, you know, how it sounds. Let's just do it together. Who has a good idea they want to talk about? A trade that you did that worked out and a trade that you did that didn't work out. Who wants to volunteer? Jeff, you want to select somebody?
I'll take a shot, Ken.
Sure. What? Give me a trade.
Can you hear me, Kenny?
Very good. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, with VIX over 20 and just how volatile we've been in the overall market, I mean, I've just been focused on SPY mostly. And I mean, if you're focused on Qs, it's pretty much the same deal. But for me, I was looking, kind of talking about what you did 2 weeks ago with the frame in mind and the time frame of this trade being longer than just, you know, a 15-minute bar, longer than just an hour. We're looking for an actual bounce here. And so the key point of inflection for me was can you pull up an hourly chart on SPY?
How many days? This Bloomberg's not out. How many days you want? This doesn't do hourly. How many days?
Can I share my screen easily, or is that too hard?
You're really muffled. I can hardly understand you.
Can I share my screen, or is that too hard to do?
Yeah, I don't know. Just tell me what days were you doing this trade?
So I've been watching this channel in SPY since let's call it like February, beginning of March, March 1st till
all right, okay.
Most recently.
Okay. SPY.
And the hourly chart was most interesting to me.
How's that? You can see a channel already. I can draw lines if you want.
Yeah. So I mean, you can see where the channel is coming from if you look at from basically the first of the month to we broke it on last Friday, March 14th. The channel broke on the 14th. We got out of the channel.
Okay.
So we were in a very clear downtrend for better part of 2 weeks, and the price action on Friday, if you're just watching the tape, led me to believe that we broke the pre-market high. We got out of the channel, and I was trying to do what you talked about, which is just not overmanage it, not get your sizing, get your risk in, take it appropriately, have your target, and then do mostly hands off or look for other trades. So I was able to get in on the break of the channel last Friday afternoon or morning, somewhere around 5:57. And I really didn't do much with it until we got to my first target, which was 570. I mean, I was really thinking about what you had said 2 weeks ago, which is time frame, perspective, and then also giving it the time to mature.
Okay, so Friday, Friday you bought it over here?
The 4th minute on Friday was my entry.
Okay, and you what was your target?
First target was 570. And then I wanted to reassess, but 570, 575, and 580 were targets.
Right.
And I mean, I was once again just thinking with you in mind of this is a larger frame time set, and you don't really need to be obsessed, in my opinion, over the 5 minutes anymore. And so I was able to put that on. My stop was about $1.50, and was able to make about $12 or $13 on that.
You were following it with $1.50 stop?
I got in at 557. My point of inflection was 556. So I wanted to see it hold 556. The low of Friday was exactly, let me see where low of Friday was.
Yeah, low Friday was 550, 550, 550.
Yeah, so that's what I was racing against. Yeah, there was a little wick there on some data, but I kind of disregarded that. So 556 was my point of inflection. I think I gave 50 cents to the downside. So 555.49 was my stop. I was probably in at 556.70. So I'm risking, $1.50. But if I'm right, and this is the channel breaking, this is the daily bounce getting underway. I really wanted to give it some time to mature, to think of, to actually play out. And so I didn't really do a whole lot with it. So we got to yesterday afternoon at 569. That's pretty close for me. So I took off some, and then this morning, excuse me, with weakness took off, the other 25 remaining percent or so, but just.
How much where did you have your stop the whole time? You were trailing with $1.50 stop?
So once I was in on Friday, the stop would have been that low of Friday for yesterday, all of Friday and all of Monday.
So you never moved your stop up at all? You kept it down there?
No, because it was a play on the daily, and I wanted to really give it a chance to mature, and so that's what it was. I mean, if we had started price action turned against me, if things had started to happen, news came out, that could be an argument for changing it, but it was really a daily play, and so if that's my logic was that's the play on the daily, and if I'm wrong, I'm okay with that risk. And if I'm right, I need to give it some time to breathe.
Okay. The only thing that that's very straightforward, very good. The only thing for me, if I'm up, basically you bought it at this, where 550, where'd you buy this at? What price?
Oh, 557.
557. I'm up $10 in SPYs. I don't want to give back $10. So I probably would have moved it up to at least $5, maybe even more. I just don't want to give back that.
My last stop was this morning pre-market at 564, but I was out of 75% of it yesterday afternoon.
Very good. Right, and did it feel better not watching every second?
Yeah, and this is literally where I'm invoking what you were talking about. Is it kind of frees up your mind to find other trades, to have things in perspective, to not overtrade it. I've definitely been guilty of overtrading and kind of losing sight of the big picture. But if that is your time frame and that's your risk that you're okay with, you're able to breathe and you're able to research other things or work on other parts of your game. But that's really the plan.
You didn't buy and sell. You just put the trade on.
That's correct. Yeah, and I never do that.
I can't tell you how good that is, because even Shark, and he'll admit it, so he's wonderful calling stocks. He'll buy 10,000. Well, he likes to short. He'll short something. He'll short 10,000 shares stock at 50. He tells me it's going to 45, and it'll go to 45. So he should make 50. Should make 50 grand. Instead of trading 10,000, he'll trade 110,000. I've never seen him one time make more than 50. All that action is a waste of time.
That's kind of what you were saying. I have one question for you, which is like, my first target was 570. Yesterday's high was 569.70. I mean, are you really, when you put in your limits and your stops, are you actually, blind and then literally going to either go to 570 or I'm just going to hit my stop loss? Are you
Not at all.
updating your stops?
Not at all. If I'm looking at, number one, I don't like to trade the market very often. I think there's about 5-6 days a year that you can trade the market. But if I'm trading something like this and it's good, I probably would have made my first sale around, I probably would have made my first sale right in here. To tell you the truth, I don't think I would have waited as much as you did. And I would have been trailing with like a $5 stop. But no, I'm not that rigid with it. And especially if I'm looking for this trade and I thought it would take a week and it took a day and a half, then I'm going to reduce my targets because the velocity, of the move is so fast. What I try to do, though, is to try to at least hold on to a third. And, because maybe it gets to your 575, 580 limit, maybe not. But if I, over time, if I catch a move like this, over time, I'm not going to get bigger moves. I'm going to have bigger size. So, and the more consistent you are, then you can increase your size. So, no, I'm not rigid. But that's very good. I mean, the whole key here, if you can just put the trade on and you keep, when you're checking it out, the only thing I want to know, did anything material change? If no, then I leave it alone.
Yeah.
Very good. Very, very good.
And Kenny, and Jeff, thanks for sharing that. So one thing that has come up, and as we've been talking about it more, is we get so much good news research, right? We get that every day. We get analyst notes and everything like that. Kenny, how? And I guess this brings the question because we were just talking about market, and that was a really good technical trade that Jeff made. But Kenny, you were talking earlier about you gave the example McDonald's. The street was looking for three things. Right. Mm-hmm. They were looking for like basically them to stop the price war, new CEO, blah, blah, blah. Right. And those are very clear things mm-hmm. that, oftentimes get lost in all the descriptions that are occurring with the analyst notes. How are you getting those things down to this is so clear to me that these are the things that we're looking for?
All right. Over time, you're going to, there's certain things I don't trade. I don't trade biotech very much. I don't trade gold, silver, hardly ever. I have my universe is a lot smaller than that. I just get to know the stocks. Number one, analysts, they're not going to make you money. They're professional writers. Everything they say is going to sound great. I'll tell a little quick story. So, I don't know if you new guys know Kevin Copeland. Kevin's the best trader that's ever been here. He has his own fund. I took him to New York, introduced him to Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Jefferies, BTIG, a few places. He couldn't believe how much information was out there. And I warned him, there was two other guys that went, I warned him about that the analysts, they sound great, and you follow them, you're going to go broke. And unfortunately, not Kevin, two other guys followed too closely, and they lost a decent amount of money until they started to realize you use analysts for information. What happens, like the McDonald's thing, it was just very clear. Every time they, they miss earnings, I don't read transcripts or anything, but you just read a few notes and you see over and over again what the problem was. This is what was demanded. And it was very clear. It kept being said over and over again. Or another thing is you'll get to know the different players in the game. So the Starbucks, which I just showed you, the CMG guy had a spectacular reputation. So you can see that that's a big move for Starbucks. I thought it was preposterous, but who cares what I think, number one. One of the most famous ones is CSX, the railroad. Let me see if I can find this. There's a guy named Harry Harrison, believe it or not, that's his name, Harrison. Bill Ackman, this is important also for you guys to know, some of the big players in the game. You should know who Bill Ackman is. You should know who Third Point is. Of course, you should know who Buffett is. You should know who Elliott is. So when things, they're always in the news, they do stuff. You'll have an idea of what do they take stocks over, companies over, or do they just get and be, are they activists? So Ackman he had been involved. This is the first big hit. he had been involved in a company called Canadian Pacific. And you can see this gigantic move here from basically zero up to here. Okay. And what happened was there was a guy that ran it who basically changed the way railroads work. And let me just use Google here, which is a terrific thing to use. Here, hang on a second. Where's Google? When did Harrison go to CSX? January 2017. Okay, so let's go back to CSX and change it to January 17. So we can go here, 2016, 2018. This is when Harry Harrison came in. Okay, so the stock is, supposed to, but anyway, it's up here. It's up 50% in about an hour and a half, and it keeps going just by knowing the player. And this was one of the easiest trades I ever made in my life, just knowing how good he was. Going back to the CP chart here, and it's really just reading, paying attention, being curious. Don't follow the whole world. And, to me, when I teach young guys, and my whole goal is I want to know what makes stocks go up and down. What is it? I don't know a semiconductor from a fork, but I know, NVIDIA, if they say the right things, I can trade the stock because I know what people are looking at. So it's just important to know what's going on. So here again, CP went from nothing, all the way up here. That's how good the guy was. This is him leaving. So anyways, just knowing this type of stuff, it's really not that hard. I can go down. So, like Tesla, everybody likes to trade Tesla. It's probably the most overtraded stock in KTG SMB by far. So forget politics. Again, money doesn't have politics. A lot of the move up here was the election. This is all, the news. They don't like them, whatever. At some point in time, all this is going to settle out. First piece of good news, the stock's going to be a lot higher, not because I'm in love with Elon Musk or Tesla or anything else like that. It's just getting pushed down. There's too much emotion in things. When you see emotion in things, there's usually another trade on the other side. So, just be aware of that. Let's see, you got the quantum stocks coming up there. It's just being prepared. You see something coming up. Just read, just try to get notes. One of the things that we have a benefit here, all the research we get, if any of you guys ever want to see a note on something, just ask me, ask Jeff, and we'll get you the note on it. And it's not that you want to read the balance sheet and all that. You just, again, want to figure out what is it important to the stock? What's good here? What needs to do better? What not? And I think that, going back to McDonald's, to give you another great trade here. So, I know nobody over there ever smoked dope in their life, but when McDonald's changed to breakfast 24 hours a day, the stock doubled basically after they did that. And I don't know if I can find it, but let me see if I can. I'll use Google again here. Go to 24-hour breakfast. 2015. Okay, so again, go back. Let's go do this again here. Again, I just urge you guys to be willing to just go back and look over history. Look at charts, not because the chart's going to tell you everything, but you can just find the news. All this right here, this is breakfast. This is, look where the stock did. This is just changing from, and it kept going. How hard is it that McDonald's adds breakfast? Is that a hard concept? No. So, there's a great trade.
But the margins on breakfast are pretty good. So,
I don't even know I can't tell you the numbers on that, and that's probably a little sloppy on my part, and you could certainly find that out. Just the popularity alone, but you're right. The margins probably are better, and that probably went into it also. So, you know what happened after that. All right, who's got another trade?
Hey Cam, I know you had a great trade yesterday in some of the Chinese stuff. I wanted to ask about that situation of Kenny. I don't know if you want to go through your trade and then we can talk through it a little bit more.
Sure.
Now, in Baba, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of it as whatever vehicle you used, but Carlton, I was talking with Carlton earlier, and he said to give you some props for the trade you made yesterday. I didn't know what trade you made, but you know, that's obviously a sector that's or a market that's really hot right now. And so I figured this was probably a good context. You know, maybe we can get Kenny's thoughts on stuff because I'm sure he's seen more of these markets getting hot than anybody else. So,
Okay, so tell me, why did you buy Baba or anything Chinese?
Yeah, so yesterday I bought Baba through 143.50 at approximately 9:45 a.m. yesterday.
Why 143.50?
Because that was near the daily high range. It had a nice breakout level, and I thought it was a very clean area to enter. And intraday yesterday, it was a good opening range break on the 5-minute chart to get involved. So
Okay.
I bought Baba stock there. I thought it was a good technical setup. It did good volume. Everything was good on that side. Fundamentally, I thought it was a strong trade because China has been very strong. There has been uncertainty in US markets. Baba has some strong AI models that rival some US companies. The Chinese government is injecting stimulus into their stock market, and it seemed like an easier place to put capital. You know, the Chinese market's catching more tailwinds from just money rotation out of US tech. So I bought Baba yesterday. I put a hard stop in at the low of day, and I'm still swing long it right now.
Okay, wait. So when one trader talks to another, we don't talk high of the day, low of the day. We talk numbers. So if you want to tell me high of the day, low of the day, you know, the low of the day yesterday was what, 140?
Yes, 140.
So I put my stop at 140, which was the low of the day. When I'm talking to another trader, I don't want them to have to go figuring stuff out. I want to be very precise. When I'm talking, okay, so your stop was 140, and what was your target?
Target for some was 150, 155, and 160.
Now this was not a day trade, I take it.
No, it's a swing trade.
Okay. And how did you figure that low of the day would be good enough to take overnight, or you didn't did you determine you wanted it? Like, I guess you knew longer term, because when I say longer term, more than just one day, because you were looking for, you know, over $10. So you thought $3.50 was enough to keep you in the trade?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So one thing I want to do to see if that makes any sense. So I'm used to using Bloomberg. I was actually one of their first customers too long ago. What I want to do is I want to see the range every day. So this is today's range here is about $4.50. Yesterday's 8. The day before that, pretty tight. Right here, $7, $6, $4, $5, $6. So looking at this, to me recently, how much the stock is, $3.50 gonna be pretty tight. So I don't know if, for me, I probably would have wanted, I understand why you wanted to sell it, break in that spot. But if I wanted to keep it that long, I'd probably need a bit of a wider stop just based upon the average moves. You see what I did there?
Yeah.
Okay, so where did you make sales? Because I never got to your 150.
I took a little bit off into the after hour into the 148 yesterday, but I'm still in the majority of my size.
Okay.
Yeah, and one question that I think this brings up, and Kenny, this is kind of what I want to ask is, you know, we had the catalyst with the government, you know, putting out the plan to inject money, right, over the weekend. And so a lot of times what we'll hear is that undisturbed price as a reference point. So it's like, what was the price on the open, like basically before that, you know, or what was the price right from the open? And it just kind of shouldn't go back there. You're thinking, you know, because you're like, that's new information. If that information is valid, the price should never really go back there, right?
I like
And
that. It gets negated. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. So that's sort of one of the things that I wanted to get your thoughts on is, how often are you using that? You know, you get a news catalyst and it's just that should be the high of the day, you know, maybe right on the open, and or that should be the low of the day right on the open, because now there's new news, and that can kind of negate if that news is valid. And this is a good example. Or you could take the airlines last week, where maybe 2 weeks ago, where there was a guy down, and I think UAL or AAL or something like that, and you're basically like, that's bad, and that should be the high of the day.
Yeah, I think that's very valid. I really do. I think that's very valid. Sometimes I want to give it just a tiny bit more room if I'm looking for as big a moves as you guys are. I don't really think you need to look for that big of moves. In all the years I've been trading, you know, in trading like a BABA thing like this, I don't know that I'd be looking for $15. A lot of times I'd rather have that be 2 or 3 trades. You know, to me, you grew up $5 and a pretty, you know, for BABA to be up $8. So again, go back. Let me just go back a little bit here. So I think your logic was very, very good. There was new news. I don't know how important a new stimulus was, but it was certainly good. There was new AI stuff with Baidu yesterday also, which didn't hurt. Yeah, I think it's fine to look for $15, $10, $15 a trade. I don't really want to look for that much. I'd like to look for less and over time have more size. But that's really good thinking. To me, the biggest thing that trade changed for trading China, for quite a long time, China was untradeable because, you know, it looked great here, and, you know, you'd think you'd buy it and then it would be down, you know, bobbing down $5 in the morning, no news. And over again. The big change to me is that Trump and Xi they seem like they want to have a good relationship. And China's doing a lot of positive stuff. They've done this stuff before, but the relationship is different. And I think it's very positive. Things are reacting good to good news, like you just said about yesterday. And to me, they're free to trade. Another trade similar to what you did yesterday was Baidu. Baidu had to, you know, some really good news here. 1 second here. So Baidu, excuse me, clearly has been behind, but they had really good news. So just like your BABA trade, you know, to me here, exactly the same thing. You know, they talked about some new AI stuff, you know, had gapped up here. You know, certainly if it's pulling back in here, you don't need to be here, even though it's pretty tight. So I think that's great thinking. Again, I think you guys, I just look for a little bit less. And I can't tell you how many times I'd make a trade like BABA, and I'd be willing to, you know, take a lot of my profit here, you know, towards the high of the day yesterday, just because it was up so much. I keep some. And then if I had to buy some back at 150, 151, I don't care. Stock doesn't know that I sold the stock yesterday. I have no problem with that at all. So that's very good thinking, though. Very logical. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay. How about another one?
Molly, do you want to go through one and then we can wrap?
Yeah, sure. I can go through RGTI.
RGTI? Okay, hang on a second. You bought it yesterday or sold it yesterday?
I was short.
Okay.
So as far as big picture, really quick, there's a theme going on. Quantums are running again. QBTS, QBT, and RGTI was on my main radar. I like to trade RGTI because throughout the run, even the previous runs, it was way weaker relative to other two. Like every time they reclaim RGTI, I couldn't really go. So if I want a short, I always go with that one.
Okay.
Yesterday, when I thought yesterday was the day to put a decent short, but there's an event today, so it kind of reclaimed and it didn't really go down. So there was emotion involved, I think, a bit frustration for a shorts. And when it kind of gapped down today, my big picture idea was like, it was a kind of struggle day today, and there's an event today at 1. I wanted to short pre-market because I thought we can just fade quietly before the event, and it wouldn't really give that much opportunity. So I just put short in the morning pre-market around 11, and I just trailed and got out into 1020s.
You shorted this morning pre-opening?
I shorted pre-market early around 11.
Today or yesterday?
Today at $11, $11.05 or something.
Very good. Very good. Isn't the event for Quantum on Thursday though? I know the main speaker is today at 1 o'clock your time, but that's for NVIDIA. That's not Quantum. I thought it was Thursday.
Yeah, it's for Thursday. I was kind of including because if NVIDIA says something, these might get affected too. But yeah.
So you started short at 11, and when you trailed it, how much did you trail it by?
So I think I was trailing the 2-minute bar, so I got out at around 8:22 a.m.
Okay, so you made a nice little trade there, 822. So right down here at around 10 and a quarter.
Yes.
Okay. And so how much, when you say you're trailing it, how much were you trailing it by? Like 15 cents, 20 cents?
Well, initially my target was below 10. That was my big picture idea. I didn't think it will go this fast, but once it just started unwinding quickly, I thought this might not go 10. I didn't want to be stubborn with my target. I just picked the
and it was fast too, right? It was very fast.
Yeah, so I just picked a spot in my mind, like what is the logical thing to cover. So I just thought that was okay. I didn't really pay attention too much on the cover. I just want to be out on the flush.
Very, very good. Very good. One thing you got to be careful of is not having too tight of stops, especially if you're looking for a bigger move. One of the keys to making money is not getting stopped out. Clearly you don't have too wide. I mean, I don't want to have a 10% stop or anything, but I don't want to be too wide. If I'm going to, too tight, rather, if I'm going to be that tight, I'd rather just take the trade off. A lot of times guys, they sell half, they want to let the rest run. They're so tight that invariably they end up giving back too much profit because you can't not get stopped out in some of these things if you're too tight. One thing before we go, just want to talk about, so you hear me talk about like 10 and a quarter. When I started, stocks didn't trade in pennies; they were eighths and quarters. So it'd be 10 and 8, 10 and a quarter. If you want to buy a stock, you pay 10 and a quarter. If you want to sell it, 10 and an eighth. So it was pretty widespread. So when I'm looking at stocks right now, so if I'm looking at NVIDIA, you can look like down here. It's 117.73, 74. Let's just say I want to buy 5,000. Let's say even your guys, you want to buy 1,000 shares of NVIDIA. Okay, and it's offered 78, 79. And I think NVIDIA, my trade is I want to buy it here, 117.80. I think it's going to go to 122. I'm going to put my order in 117.82. I don't want to miss it for 2 cents. I'll get executed because my size is small enough. I'll get executed wherever it's trading. But I don't want to. I see guys miss trades all the time for a penny, 2 pennies. I'm looking to make $4 or $5. What do I care about the 2 pennies? Especially if I'm selling something and I want to get out. Let's just say right here again, NVIDIA, 117.59.60. I want to sell my stock, and I really want to sell it. I'm going to put 117 and a half. I'll get out at 117.60, but the pennies you're there is not going to make a difference if you make money or not. A lot of times you see guys miss their trade and end up, paying up $0.50, selling it down $0.50. Just don't be penny conscious. It's just not important. It's not important at all. So that's I think that'll help you a lot. You try it. It may sound a little odd to you, but over time, I think you'll see it be very, very helpful to you. See you right there. Also, when you're reviewing your day, this is what we talked the other day about slippage. Slippage is, the trades that you do, ready, shoot, aim type of trades, or you're sloppy and you make a small error, wrong symbol, or you're not aware when something earnings are coming out, or you're buying a stock and you didn't do the, go back and just do the little bit of work that, is needed to make sure you're talking about the right thing. So to me, if you have a P&L of $20,000 a month, I guarantee you that you have at least $500 a day that you throw in the toilet by being a little sloppy, by not being totally professional. If you can just, control what you can control, that adds up. If you say $500 a day, it's $125,000 a year. That's a lot of money in your pocket for doing less. So real important to just have a clean business, control what you can control. All right. So we're going to do this again next Tuesday. Have a bunch of trades that you can talk about. So like between now and then, we're going to have the whole NVIDIA thing. That'll be done. You got the Fed tomorrow. A whole bunch of stuff doing. Just be ready to talk. Talking stocks is fun. And, we can, let's next time also have a couple of trades that we're going to look forward to so that, come up with a trade. So we're going to talk next Tuesday, right, Jeff?
Yep, let's plan on it.
Okay, so let's have a trade. When we talk next Tuesday, let's have a trade between then and the following Tuesday. And let's see if we can put something on together. All right. That makes sense. I'm going to open a separate account here. Okay. No risk to anybody. We're going to put trade on, and we can put a couple trades on and see if that makes sense. Let's have a reason to do them other than just a chart. And, we can have some fun together and, just really creating good ideas for ourselves. And we'll have a little, thing here together. And who knows, maybe we'll even get paid on it. So, all right.
That sounds good. All right, we'll see everybody next week. Kenny,